I think we might have talked about this once or twice before, and it's about streaming services and what streaming services you have and what streaming services you use. On Today FM, it might have been yesterday actually, Lloyd Burr was talking about the streaming services he had, and Netflix, I wouldn't say they're in trouble, but Netflix has had a bit of an issue over the last few days.
But Netflix's shares plummeted by 25% overnight on the news that it had lost subscribers for the first time in its history, with 200,000 people, give or take, scrapping their subscriptions. And it got me thinking, should I cancel my Netflix? Should I cancel my other services too, like my Disney Plus and my Neon? And am I really getting value for money from these streaming services? I've found myself using TVNZ On Demand quite a lot recently, mainly because of Grand Designs, because I love that show. But there are also some great doco channels there. There's also some great local content, and it's all for free. You've got to do one ad every 15 minutes or so. I can't remember the last time that I used Neon or Disney. Actually, the last time I used Disney was about 3 weeks ago when my nieces were up and we watched Zootopia. So I don't really use it. And Netflix, well, that's slow at adding content, new decent content, and it takes, ages to make that good content, I guess, so it doesn't come up that often. Add to the fact that New Zealand's Netflix doesn't have the vast amount of content that the US and the UK markets have. And the prices for Netflix, they've just gone up. So is it worth it? The cheapest Netflix plan is $12.99 a month. The cheapest Disney Plus plan is also $12.99 a month. The cheapest Neon is $15.99 a month.
There's a couple of things about this which I find interesting. The first, I like how their black background matches with our black background. The first is the share price dropped by a quarter, 25%, because they lost 200,000 subscribers. Now, Netflix, I was just looking it up while that clip was playing, has 222 million subscribers. 200,000 is not even like 1/10 of 1%. I find it amazing that their share price would drop 25%, a quarter, based on that. I wonder if there's other things going on as well, because with 222 million people, I would think that actually that would be attrition. I mean, that many people would die and their accounts would finish in that kind of time frame, I would think. So that was the first part of it. But then the second part of it was just talking about subscription and stuff in general. And I agree with Lloyd Burr. I think I said this on a previous show, is that several years ago, I basically criticized TVNZ On Demand because they were playing more ads between their content and at random times than actually were playing on TVNZ. So if you had a 3.5 ad break on TVNZ, sometimes on TVNZ On Demand, there was 5 minutes worth of ads. And I'm like, why the fuck would you watch this when I can record it off the TV and zip through the ads, sort of thing? But now they've got the mix right. You might have 30 seconds of ads occasionally. It's worth it. It's certainly worth the time. It's worth what I'm prepared to pay for it in my time to use TVNZ On Demand. So I think they've nailed it down. But then also subscriptions. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago a little bit, and I worked out what I was spending, and I'm a little bit in shock actually. And I've been meaning to reassess and relook at the things that I'm doing. On the flip side to that is I do watch some stuff online for free and I'm not entitled to watch. So what am I prepared to pay, I guess, ethically and morally, to have free content that I can access whenever and however I want, realizing that someone's got to pay for it as well.
Yeah. I just want to say it's good to see Lloyd Burr back on the airwaves. I'm proud that he's an alumni actually of the media film communications department, which I'm a member of. So
nice.
Very proud. I don't know where he's been. I thought he was like TV3's correspondent.
I think he was doing Drive for Magic for a while as well, wasn't he? I think he went from whatever his TV role was to a radio role, and then he was one of the few that got dragged across from Magic to the new Today FM. I think, I could be wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure he did move into that drive time radio role for that talk station preceding Today.
I feel like maybe the streaming, the bubble's bursting, right, for streaming. Maybe that, and there's going to be a sort of, I mean, this would be amazing if there was like a sort of a return to the sort of culture of piracy that we saw maybe in the mid noughties,
right?
And a rejection of streaming services and their costs, or at least a more competitive subscription costs throughout streaming services, that happens because of this, what seems to be a bursting bubble, right? Because that's what they rely on is subscriber revenue, but also beyond that, as a traded company,
Yep.
they rely on perception, right? And
Yep.
if the perception is that they're no longer making content, or it's falling flat, then yeah.
The model is pretty successful for them at Netflix. Like I just did the 222 million viewers, even using the least amount per month, which is 13 New Zealand dollars. They're bringing in close to $3 billion a month from their subscriber base, which it will be more than that because that's basically on the entry level cost of Netflix, but New Zealand dollars. You know, I'm always a little bit hesitant in this conversation because thinking about extremes, like if we went to a piracy model and there was no subscriptions, then there'd be no content because they got to pay for it. So
no, they can just perception the money out of thin air.
But that's why I think TVNZ has got it right. They're on demand service where I'm prepared to pay an ad, 30 or 60 seconds. I'm okay with that, and so I'm okay with their model. You know, radio stations, we've done it for a long time where we listen to ads. I don't really listen to radio much anymore, but we listen to ads between the songs or between the talking. You know, television has got ads that play every 7 minutes or whatever it is, and that's the price we pay for those free services. I hear you saying, and I wonder if rather than going back to a piracy model, as you call it, I wonder if there's going to be a reckoning with these services on their pricing structure. Like, yeah, I have to say, I think that I think it's Apple TV. I got a free 12 months when I got my phone, but I think it's really like he talked about Disney Plus there. We have Disney Plus here, but it was $100 for the whole year, like if you bought it up front. And to me, I mean, it's an amount of money, but it doesn't feel like a huge amount of money to have that there when the kids want it or when I want it, or we were in the process of watching all 22 you know, Marvel Universe movies again, sort of thing. So it seemed okay. Now I could have done that online for free, but the online service for free doesn't necessarily have the ability to come back and watch where you're up to, and it's a bit more, you know, finicky sort of thing.
With the TVNZ on demand thing, I mean, yeah, I'm not calling for everyone to suddenly be pirating individually, but imagine if there was like this collective entity that we were all a part of, that we could collectively pull all our money together and buy stuff. It's a country. We could like all come together as a country and like have something like TVNZ on demand with all these amazing like films and documentaries.
Well, that's called a public broadcasting fund, isn't it? That's what the BBC is. Yeah. I actually am okay with that concept of you know, having a licensing fee of like $50 a year or $100 a year or $40 a year or whatever it is to support that doesn't faze me in the slightest. The other answer, of course, is YouTube, because YouTube is the biggest television network in the world at the moment. It's got the most people watching it. I wonder if there's going to be a transitional model away from, and it's not going to be today, tomorrow, next week, or next month, or even next year, but away from having to, like, things are starting to go behind paywalls. Things typically go in cycles, and a paywall is just a membership for people who don't get what I mean, because you think paywall, you think newspapers, but just there's a membership wall that you need to pay to get across. And that seems to be the style at the moment. But much like anything, things come and go, and I wonder if the next style will be back to free content and, you know, product placement and advertising and things like that to pay for it. And somewhere like YouTube will end up being the be all and end all. I think about, not that I really remember this myself, but I know the story of VHS versus Betamax, and, you know, eventually VHS won and Betamax was a product that just disappeared. I wonder eventually if one or two, I mean, like, you know, Facebook won, all the other ones kind of fell away. I wonder if one of the streamers will win, maybe it'll acquire the others and all the rest will fade away or something. I don't know. Or else it'll move to a free model.